So, final review standard. I think 11 problems on here. So, when we look at an equation, we have to solve it. We have 3x to the second power minus 60 equals 87. Now, first off, we need to know how many answers. So, since we have x to the second power, there's going to be 2 answers to that. Now, go here and list the method. Now, you got x to the second. Do you have any x's that are not, or are you able to point out any x's that are not to the second? No, I don't think you can. So what method? We don't need to do the set boxes. Instead, we get the x squared equals and then the x equals. Okay. So what I do is I dot the x squared and circle it. Then I have minus 60, so I need to add 60 to both sides. And add 60 then to the 187, okay? 87 plus 60 is 147, so 3 times x to the second equals 147, okay? And then we divide by the 3. And then after I divide 147 by 3, I come down here. I got 49. Now, what number times itself is 49? Because we have to get just what x equals instead of. So what I do is I go down the diagonal in those bold. And here's 49 right here, okay? And that's 7 times 7. So the answer to this is 7. Now, the 2 answers, 7's one of them, negative 7's the other. Okay? Now, the next one, 4x to the second plus 16x equals 0. How many answers? Well, there would be 2. Now, what method? Now, are you able to find an x that's not to the second? Yeah, you can right here. So since I have that, I have to do the set boxes method, okay? By the way, up here it's x squared equals x equals, okay? That's the method I used up there. Set boxes, so the 0's there, so you're set. Now, you count the terms. You got to go down here. So there's 1 term, 2 terms. So it would be the GCF and then the DOPS, okay? So GCF. And then the DOPS question mark. And again, we set up 2 parentheses. One has a plus, one has a minus. Okay, so the 3 things I check from the GCF. If the first number is negative, if x is on both terms, and then the GCF calculator. So I won't need the negative because the first number here, 4, is not negative. Now, we will need x because I got x second and x to the first, okay? So I take the smaller x to the first here. Okay. And then the GCF out of 4 and 16, I use a calculator here. So 4 comma 16 is 4, okay? So I got 4x to the first. So I put 4x to the first out here. I put a parentheses around it. And then I put 4x to the first and 4x to the first. Now I divide. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And x, I take 2 minus 1, which is x to the first. And then 16 divided by 4 is 4, so plus 4. And then since those are both first powers, they eliminate. Now, difference of perfect squares is x to the, and you're looking at this second parentheses here. Is x to the second even there? No, it's to the first. So we ditch this box, cross it out, and we put we put equals 0, and this is my F1, and this is my F2. Okay, so you take away those first powers, okay, and you set each of your f's equal to 0. So 4x could equal 0, or 1x plus 4 could equal 0. So I dot and circle. There's no plus or minus here, so I go straight to dividing by 4. And 0 divided by 4 is 0. then I'm going to need to minus 4 before I divide. Now 0 minus 4 is going to be negative 4. And then I divide by 1, and negative 4 divided by 1 is negative 4. So those are your two answers. Okay, now this one. How many answers do we have? There'd be 2. What method? Is it set boxes or x squared equals x equals? Well, there's an x not to the second, so again, that's got to be the set boxes. Okay, so make sure you're set. Okay, you have to be set. It's got to be equal to 0. Okay, so you are set. And now count your terms. You got 3 this time. 1, 2, 3. So again, that's the GCF box and the T table. Okay, so again, GCF, negative x GCF. I don't need negative because the 1 in the front's positive. I don't need x because we have x second, x first, but 27 doesn't have x. And then 1, 12, and 27 is 1, okay? Okay, so 1's a GCF. So if it's just a 1 without a negative, without an x, we don't do it, okay? And then my table, it doesn't say fail, so the table is going to work. A, B, C, and I take positive 1 times positive 27. I get positive 27. Now it's positive, so would that be add or minus? It'd be add, and I'm trying to add to 12, which is a negative. So 1 and 27 can't do that. 2's a decimal. 3 is 9. Okay, what's 9 plus 3? I think that's 12. So because the 12 is negative, we need negative on 9. And we have a positive up there, so that means the signs has to be the same. Okay, so if that's minus, that's minus. So I make my 4 parentheses, and I have to keep my eye peeled for what A is. And here's A, it's 1x to the second. Okay. So we're going to go 1x minus 3 and 1x minus 9, and then look up the GCF, okay? The GCF out of 1 and 3 is 1, okay? So that'll stay 1x minus 3. 1 and 9, the GCF is 1, so that's going to stay 1x minus 9. Okay, I did not do anything here. If I have something out here, I need to drop it down and put it in parentheses, but I don't. So I put equals 0, and this is F1, this is F2. So 1x minus 3 could equal 0, or 1x minus 9 could equal 0. So I dot my x's, and I plus 3. 0 plus 3 is 3, and then divide by 1 keeps us at 3. Then plus 9, 0 plus 9 is 9, and then divide by the 1, and 9 divided by 1 is 9, so x equals 9, 3 and 9. Okay, next problem, number 4. 12x to the second power minus 11x plus 2 equals 0. So there's 2 answers. So again, do we have an x that isn't to the second? Yeah, right there. Okay. So that's the set boxes method. Okay, so we are set because the 0's there. Now, how many terms do we have? We have 1, 2, 3. So 3 would be GCF, again, the table, like the last problem. negative x GCF, okay? I will not need the negative because of front terms. I have x second, I have x to the first, but I don't have x here, so no x. And out of the GCF, we look up 12, 11, and 2. And again, I just get 1 as a GCF. So if I have a 1 without a negative or an x, we're not going to do that. So I go A, B, C. And I take positive 12 times positive 2, and that's going to be 24 positive. Okay, I got a positive, so that's another add, trying to get to 11, which is negative. 1 and 24, nope. 24 divided by 2 is 12. That's 14. 3 and 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. Okay, so 11's negative. You're going to have negative 8. And I got a positive up there, so the signs have to be the same. So they'd both be minus. Now my a up there this time is 12x to the second. So I started off with 12x minus 3 and 12x minus 8. Then I look up the GCF, okay? So 12 and 3. I got 3, so I'm going to divide these down by 3, and that's 4x minus 1. Then cross that out. You don't want that there anymore. 12 and 8 is 4, okay? So that is 3x minus 2. GCF, I don't have anything to drop down, so I put equals 0, and this is F1, this is F2. So 4x minus 1 could equal 0, or 3x minus 2 could equal 0. So I dot and circle. Then I plus 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. Then I divide by 4. And whatever 1 divided by 4 is my first answer, 0.25. And then I plus 2. And 0 plus 2 is 2. Then I divide by 3. And 2 divided by 3 is 0.6 repeating. Okay. Next up. Now this is an interesting one because I don't have x to the second, okay? It's just one answer. So if there's just one answer, we're just going to dot and circle. We're going to add 3. I don't need any method. I already know this. It's 20. And then I divide by the negative 4. And x equals what 20 divided by negative 4 is. I don't need that. Just do a square root, and that would be negative 5. So that went pretty quickly. Number 6, 5x to the second power plus 1x minus 9 equals 0. So there would be back to 2 answers because we have x to the second. So what method do I need to use? Find an x that's not to the second. You found one, so if you find one, it's set boxes. Okay. So you're set. And again, we have 3 terms. So 3 terms is GCF and table. Remember the GCF, negative x GCF. We don't need the negative because of that. We have x second, x to the first, but no x there, so we don't need x. And then let's look at what 5, 1, and 9 is. I'm guessing it's 1 because 1's one of the numbers here. And it is, it's 1, okay? So the GCF is 1. So again, we don't need to do that. A, B, C. Now, I would normally take positive 5 times negative 9, which is negative 45, which would mean I would minus to get positive 1. But I wrote you a little note that it's fail. Okay? So, it's the quadratic formula fail, which is right here. Opposite of b, plus or minus the square root, b squared, squared means second power, minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac over 2a over 2a. So again, a equals b equals c equals, okay? So a is 5, b is 1, and c is negative 9. So the opposite of b, I put 1, but the opposite means it's positive, so I need to put a negative in front of it. And then here's b, and b is just 1. Then 4, a is 5. C is negative 9. And bottom 2 times a. Well, I know a is 5. Okay. Now we know we have negative 1 plus minus. I know 2 times 5 is 10. Okay. Now we figure out the square root. Remember, you need 2 parentheses in the beginning. So I go second and then the fourth key up, double that parentheses. 1 close to the second, minus or subtract, parentheses 4, parentheses 5, and parentheses negative 9. That's 13.45, so I cross that out and just put 13.45, and then I circle it. Now I see the 3 numbers. I take negative 1 and then the plus operation with 13.45. You guys got to hit equals and then divide by the number on bottom. Just hit divide by 10, 1.24. Then that takes care of my plus. Then I do this minus, okay? Negative 1 minus 13.45 equals divided by 10. That's negative 1.44. So again, that's what to do on a fail. Okay. Now number 7. X to the third power plus 9x to the second power minus 4x minus 36 equals 0. So this one I have a third power, so there's 3 answers. Now, what method? Do we have any x's that are not to that third power? Yep, I've got a couple of them, so that means the strategy is to set and use boxes to solve it, factor it. So you're set. Now, how many underline your terms? I think this one, unfortunately, has 4. Okay, 4. So it's grouping DOPS. So, grouping, and then a smaller box down here, DOPS. Grouping's got to be a big box. So here's your grouping. You got 2 parentheses plus each other. And then line parentheses plus line parentheses. And then finally a bigger line with a parentheses, and you put a much smaller parentheses there. Okay? And then the DOPS is the same thing, the 2 parentheses with the plus and the minus. And when I look for DOPS, I'm looking at that second one. So I put 1x to the third plus 9x to the second, and then negative 4x minus 36. Then from there, you're looking for negatives, x, and GCF. Now, negative. I don't need a negative here, but I do need one here because the first number in that second one's negative. X. I need x here because they both have x's. Actually, x to the second because that's the smaller of the 2. I don't need x here because 36 doesn't have it. Now I GCF the numbers, so I go 1, 9. And that's 1, okay? And then I go 436. and that's 4, okay? Put a 4 with the negative. So whatever I have under each line is what I put in the space. So here I got 1x to the second, and here I've got negative 4. Now I just divide. I take 1 divided by 1, that's 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. And 9 divided by 1 is positive 9. And these are to the same power, so they go bye-bye. That's positive 1. And then negative 36 divided by negative 4. Hoping it's plus 9, and it is. It's 9. Okay? Now, take that silly first power out of there, and what you have in each of those parentheses is the exact same expression, 1x plus 9. So that goes out here, and cross those out. And I have 1x to the second minus 4. If it's negative, you write minus. Okay. Now, the 1x plus 9 is just drop straight down. Okay, because your dots, you're looking at the x to the second parentheses. Okay, is x to the second there? Sure it is. So x, x. Is the second number negative? Absolutely. 4 is. Are the numbers perfect? Well, are they in that? Are 1 and 4 in that diagonal row? Well, here's 1. That's 1, 1. And 4 is here, that would be 2, 2. It's like finding square roots, okay? And I'm to where I want to be, okay? So F1, F2, F3, okay? So 1x plus 9 equals 0. 1x plus 2 equals 0. 1x minus 2 equals 0. So I dot my x's. Minus 9. 0 minus 9 is negative 9. Then we'll divide by 1, and that's still negative 9. Minus 2, that's negative 2. Divide by 1 is still negative 2. Plus 2, that's 2. Divided by 1 is still 2. So those are my 3 answers. Now I get parentheses. Now we don't want to look at this map here. We want to turn to the back, okay, and decide if we're blocked or we're not with the rainbows. Here's a power here. There's not one here. So this is not blocked. So we do the rainbows, okay. Put a 1 there. 4 times 1x is 4x, and you write your minus operator and take 4 times 3, and that's 12. There's nothing plus or minus out there, so equals 16. Then dot and circle your x. Undo plus or minus. I just have a minus 12 to undo. That's 28. Divide, and this is my only answer. So 28 divided by 4 is 7. Okay, now the next one. 3 parentheses. This time the block is there because the power's there. So we rewrite the equation with h to the second. So I just replace my parentheses with h to the second. And in front of that we'll have 3. And there's my second, and then equals 18. And after that's been rewritten, we put h second equals h equals. Okay. And then I set up my table, right here. And I put that expression in the parentheses, x minus 4, x minus 4. And I don't know what it equals till I solve for the h. So I dot and circle, like I would with an x second. And I don't have to add or subtract, I divide by 3. And 18 divided by 3 is 6. So h to the second, 6. Now, what number times itself is 6? Well, I don't know because it's not in that little diagonal. So I find the square root of 6 on a calculator. So I go second, the 4th key up, double that parentheses, 6. I get 2.44. So I could be 2.44 or negative 2.44. Okay, put your 1 in front, dot it and circle it, then you're home free. You add 4. Now, 2 plus 4 is 6, but it'd be 6.44, and then divide by 1 is still 6.44. So that is my first answer. If we're blocked because of a power, there's going to be more than one answer. Plus 4 plus 4. So I take negative 2.44 plus 4, and that's 1.56. And then I divide by 1, and that's still 1.56. Okay, now we're to the story problems. An object is thrown upward from a starting height of 15 feet with an initial velocity of 35 feet per second. How long will it take the object to hit 0 feet? So I can obviously graph the object because I got feet and seconds. Then the graph here, and then so seconds is x, feet's y, times always x. So it's feet per second, which we have 35 for, okay? Now, goes up, comes down. Now, before the 35 feet per second, we have 15 feet. And we have 0 feet. So, I'll make a big thing right here. In a parabola, because it goes up, that's what that thing's called, blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank equals y. So negative 16 is my gravity. That's not the problem, but it always is there. And then 35x. And then 15 is my starting height. And then the ending is 0. So 0 feet is going in for y. Now as far as x goes, we go back to this. There are no parentheses. Okay. So how many answers do we have? There'd be 2. What method am I going to use? Well, I have this x that isn't to the second, so I have to use the set boxes method. So set boxes, you're set because the zero's there, and there's 3 terms. You can see that. So it's GCF followed by my table. Okay, negative x GCF. Now in these problems we do need the negative, okay, because the first number is negative. So negative, 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 negative. So I'm going to have to do that. I will not need x because we have x second, x first, and that wouldn't have it, so we don't need x. Then let's look up 16, 15, and 35. Or 16, 35, and 15, my bad. I got 1. So negative 1, but it's negative, so we actually have to do it. So let's go divide all these. And all that happens when you divide by negative 1 is the sign turns. So that'll be positive 16x squared, that's my A. Minus 35x, that's my B. And then minus 15, which is my C. Now, the table, it says fail. So I go to my quadratic formula. There it is. So opposite of B, plus or minus D square root B squared minus 4AC over 2A over 2A. So A is 16. B is negative 35, and C is negative 15, okay? So the opposite of B, I would switch the negative 35 into a positive 35, and then B would be negative 35, then 4A would be 16, and C would be negative 15, and then the bottom A would be 16. So we got 35, the plus minus operator. 2 times 16 is 32. So remember that. Now we got to figure out the square root. We need 2 parentheses at the beginning. I go second, fourth key up, double it. Negative 35 to the second, subtract 4, 16, and negative 15. 46.74. So I put that above there and circle it. Okay, so I take 35, and first I plus 30 or 46.74 equals, and then divide by 32, which is 2.55. Then I minus 35 minus 46.74, and then divide by 32, and that's negative 0.36. So 2.55 is my answer because that's the higher amount. Okay. All right, and then finally, got this gem. It says a picture is 20 by 25 inches, and there's the picture, 20 by 25. A person's going to build a frame around the picture. After the frame is built, it takes up 644 square feet. How wide is the frame? So down here in the equation, the area is 644. So we're going to put that. Remember, we got to figure out what the length times width would equal, because that's how you get the area of a rectangle. So I take my length times my width. So my length, again, we got 20x and x, so that would be 2x plus 20. And then my width would be 25x and x, so that would be 2x plus 25. Now we need to multiply this out, okay? 20, that's a 25. So I go 2x times 2x, and then 2x again, but this time times 25. That's done. Now I write the 20. I just drew 2 rainbows with that, so 20 needs to be multiplied by 2 things, and it's the same 2 things, 2x and 25. Okay, so we're going to put 1, 1, 1 and nothing, nothing, 1 and nothing at all. So 2 times 2 is 4 with x, 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 times 25 is 50 with just the x to the first. And 20 times 2 is 40 with the x to the first. And 20 times 25 is 500. So I line up my blanks. And what do I have? I have 4. I have 50 plus 40, which is 90. And I have 500. And that is my length times my width. So I put that down here. So again, my job is to figure out what those x's would equal. So again, how many answers? Well, there's 2. What method? Well, again, you got this x that isn't to the second, so it's set boxes. Okay. All right, so we're not set, though. This is one problem where we're not set. So I set this up myself. And remember, anything on the right side switches to opposite. So we got x second, that'd be 4. X would be 90. Now we don't just add these in, because this gets a plus. We have to switch that to minus, and minus that then from the 500. Okay, so 500 minus 644 is negative 144. So again, that's 3 terms. So that would be the GCF and the table, but it doesn't say fail this time. Okay, GCF, negative x GCF. The negative is not here. The x is not on everything, okay? And then 490 and 144. Okay, I got 2. So 2. But just 2, plain old 2, no negative, no x. So that now is 2x to the second. plus 45x, and that would be minus 72. Okay, so I go A, B, C from there. 2 times negative 72 is negative 144. So it's a negative, so it would be a minus, trying to get to 45 positive. Well, that doesn't work. 144 divided by 2 is 72, but 72 minus 2 is not 45. Now I divide by 3. What's 48 minus 3? 45. So I have found it. So plus, and a negative means they're opposite. Okay. Now your a up there is 2x to the second. So again, we go 2x minus 3 and 2x plus 48. Then I look up my GCFs, 2 and 3. Okay, I got 1, so that'll just stay the same. 2x minus 3. 2 and 48. I got 2, so I divide by 2, and that becomes 1x plus 24. Now, in the GCF, we have this 2 here that would just drop down. But since it has no x, the F1 and F2 are just here, okay? Because I only need 2 answers. So 2x minus 3 equals 0, or 1x plus 24 equals 0. I don't need to worry about the 2 if it doesn't have x. So I dot the x's, plus 3 plus 3. And then divide 3 by 2, it's 1.5. And then I minus 24, and that makes negative 24. Then I divide by 1, and that's negative 24. Now my higher answer is 1.5, so that's what we have.